On today's show, we recap the season finale and go through our top 10 power rankings between the Maple Leafs and the Senators players. You're listening to the Locked On at Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf Center podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The Battle of Ontario gets going on Sunday. We finally have a date for the Battle of Ontario. If you want to pick up some tickets, use the Gametime app. Use our code LOCKEDONNHL and get yourself $20 off those tickets. What's happening, Dave? How we feeling on a Friday?
Man, just the anticipation. It's coming. It's coming.
I know it's coming. And we finally, yesterday's game against Detroit was so meaningless. And it just, you wish you could honestly just said, you know what, take the win. We'll forfeit. We don't even want to play. Luckily, it actually turned out to be a pretty fun game, actually, when all said and done, or at least the final kind of minute turned out to be fun. And it's funny because it seemed like Toronto, like it was an absolute no-hitter, like both sides, neither team. Detroit didn't want to get hurt going into the offseason. The Maple Leafs clearly not wanting to get hurt going into the playoffs, so there wasn't a whole lot of hitting going on in the game. And not a lot of shot blocking and not a whole lot of defense being played, battles for pucks. It was not a fun game, or it wasn't a game that Craig Berube would typically sign off on, but they got through unscathed, they got through healthy, and Dave, they found a way to actually hunker down and get the win. Like they were down 3-1, came from behind, tied the game with a second left, and then won it in overtime, and just the most unlikely cast of characters scoring to get themselves on the score sheet before the year ends. You get a beautiful goal from Myers. You somehow get Chris Tanev out there with an empty net, finding his way down Broadway, gets a shot off that goes in with 1 second left. And then Scotty Lawton, of all people, scores in overtime to end the game and end the season for the Maple Leafs. And 5 in a row to end off the year for the Buds, too. So Leafs are rolling heading into the postseason.
It was just so funny because I had a buddy message me during the game. It's like, when they were losing, like, this isn't a great effort from the Leafs. And I'm like, were you expecting it to be a great effort from the Leafs? The game ends, and then the Leafs end up winning. He's like, okay, scratch that. Like, it was almost like at some point the team's like, okay, like, no, we kind of want to win this. And I mean, I don't know what your reaction was when you saw that Philip Myers goal. I was kind of just like, where did that come from?
Whoa, what got into him? Like, also, like, Detroit just absolutely let that guy blow by 3 different people. Like, didn't want to even. It was as if he was.
It was a
like,
business decision, as they used to say.
Yeah, total business decision. It was as if he was patient zero from COVID, and they're like, I got to socially distance, can't get anywhere near this guy. Little poke of the stick, and Phil Myers dipsy dangles past 1, past 2, and then kind of tucks it and gets it past Cam Talbot there. It was a beautiful goal, don't get me wrong. But yeah, not a whole lot of defense being played by Detroit. But it kind of got the Leafs back into it. And then, the final minute, they decided, you know what? Maybe we do want to win this game. Maybe we do. They started actually, competing for pucks. And, Chris Tanev, of all people, is on the ice when they need a goal in the final minute of a game, and he scores the most unlikeliest goal. Beautiful pass by Marner, by the way. I don't even know if he knew if Tanev was there. He just grabbed it, turned, fired it in front of the net, and Tanev kind of didn't get much of it, but got enough, and it just fluttered into the back of the net. So the Maple Leafs win their final game of the season for Toronto, and that does it for the regular season. And now we can kind of look ahead to the playoffs, right? Like now that's all that matters. The regular season is officially over, and it's behind us. The Maple Leafs finished the year with a 52-26-4 record. They finished the season with a 326 goals per game. They allowed 2.79 goals per game, finished with a 24.8% power play, just a 77.9% penalty kill. And that's something that I know the Maple Leafs are going to want to try and hunker down on as the postseason nears. Special teams is always a killer in the playoffs. So they've got a decent power play. Obviously, they got to hunker down on that penalty kill though, heading into the playoffs here against Ottawa. Because I don't know if you watched that Sens game last night. I think that 3 power play goals against Carolina, like a half Carolina lineup, mind you, but still that power play, they put out their top units and they got cooking. So they're going to have a lot of confidence heading into game 1 on Sunday.
Yeah, no, it's going to be like both teams know that you don't want to give any sort of mental edge, right? And so if you're the Leafs, seeing Ottawa with the power play goals that they scored, you got to find a way to not let that be something that's in your heads, right? Don't let that. I know the penalty kill has them good, but just don't let them feel like they have that advantage over you. And I know that like that's probably the one, like, you know, based on what happened last year against Boston, when you talk about special teams, the penalty kill is still one that they got to find a way to hunker down and just say, okay, no, we're not going to let that be a deciding factor in this series. And it's gonna take like guys are gonna have to, you know, find ways to clear pucks, get to loose pucks.
Yeah,
and this team can block shots, but they got to find a way to get those clears, not keep themselves in the zone for extended period. I feel like that's been something that they've been guilty of when I've watched the penalty kill recently, especially.
You go back to the bubble season, the year that they played the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, or you know what, you can even go, sure, let's say that the year they play the Columbus Blue Jackets in the bubble year, although that you can make the argument that wasn't really the playoffs. So if you want to go back to the Canadian division year, you know, when they took on Montreal, their penalty kill since then, that's 32 playoff games since the beginning of that season. Penalty kills just 75%, power play just 15.4%. Got to be better than that in the postseason, and that's going to be a focal point here in this playoff series against the Ottawa Senators. Speaking of, we do have the full schedule for what is expected, or at least we have the dates of what we will see. So game 1 is Sunday at 7:00 in Toronto. Game 2 Tuesday at 7:30 in Toronto, and then they get to Ottawa for games 3 and 4. That'll be on Thursday and Saturday, and then April 29th will be game 5, followed by game 6 in May 1st, and game 7, if need be, will be May 3rd in Toronto. So those are the dates for the Battle of Ontario, and it all gets started Sunday, 7 p.m. I can't wait. And on the other side, Dave, we respond to the Locked On Senators boys. We're going to be doing a crossover podcast with them. That'll be coming out tomorrow, a special preview edition of the series. But they put out a top 10 list for defensemen in the series, compiling a list of both Leafs and Sens and who the top 10 defensemen are. It was brutal. It was a terrible list. We've got a much better list coming up next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick TV 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair of controllers, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, NHL 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops, and as easily as you can stream your favorite TV shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribe services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Hosts with hardcore gaming experience can share their experience and how Fire's TV Stick 4K can be a game changer. Hosts with casual and little gaming experience can share that this could be a great option to start playing Xbox, and those with no gaming experience can show how FTV provides them with other great entertainment choices. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including the Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you on the Friday before the playoffs begin. And just a reminder, we do have new episodes of the podcast coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, all playoff long, all off-season long as well. So make sure you're locked into the Locked On Leafs podcast each and every day for that daily dose of Maple Leafs content from Dave and I. So the other day, we were just minding our own business, and the Locked On Sens boys decided to put out a top 10 list of the top 10 defensemen in the series between the Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. This list was horrendous, Dave. It was God. I think they had Morgan Rielly at like 9 or 10. They had like Tyler Clevin ahead of Rielly, if I'm not mistaken. They had OEL at like 5 ahead of Rielly, and worst of all, they had Jake Sanderson at number 1, thinking that they got the best defender in the entire series. And Jake Sanderson's a good defenseman. I don't think he's quite ready to take the mantle as the best in this series quite yet. So we've got our own top 10 list of defensemen in this series, and then we also have a forward list that we'll get to after this. So why don't we get to the top 10 defensive list for the Maple Leafs here? Do you want to unveil your list, or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So I've got Tyler Clevin coming in at number 10 of the Ottawa Senators. Tyler Clevin. It's his first full season as a pro in the NHL. He was a second-round pick a couple of years back. He's turned into a decent player for them, top 4 guy, but really, he's defensive defenseman, doesn't put up a whole lot of points, no guff type of dude, almost like their Simon Benoit, but he comes in at number 10. Nick Jensen comes in at number 9 for me of the Ottawa Senators. Again, good player, right shot. I think that they needed to get a player like him. Keep in mind, they got him in the Jacob Chychrun deal, and Chychrun went on to have a much better season. But again, a no-nonsense defensive guy. His metrics have always been good, his underlying numbers. But there's nothing flashy about Nick Jensen's game. So he comes in at number 9 for me. Then I've got Artem Zub coming in at number 8. And you'll notice a theme. The 10, 9, 8, they're all Senators here. And they're all guys who really don't provide a whole lot of offense. Artem Zub comes in as a defensive defenseman for this club. He's a top 4 guy. Pretty solid, defensive pairing option for the Senators, but doesn't offer up a whole lot outside of that. So I got him coming in at number 8. Number 7, Dave, I've got Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's where the Maple Leafs make their debut on this list at number 7. OEL's had a good season. Sounds like he's going to be healthy to start along with Jake McCabe and David Kampf. So you are going to see Oliver Ekman-Larsson come Sunday in Game 1. But this is a guy who his entire career has been a point getting defenseman. Now, this year hasn't necessarily been that, but he's kind of developed into a solid two-way guy over the last couple seasons. And now he's kind of anchoring a third pair. He can still move the pill. He can still shoot the puck. And he's starting to be a little meaner in front of his net too, which is why I think OEL is a guy who's been a big addition to this team and, is a great third pair anchor guy for the Maple Leafs. Coming in at number 6, they got Brandon Carlo, who the Leafs brought over in the trade from the Boston Bruins. Big, tough defenseman. He's got a great stick. I think that's what I've been most impressive when it comes to Brandon Carlo, is how he's able to disrupt plays with his stick, whether that's defending off the rush or along the boards. Brandon Carlo's been excellent. He can read plays well, and he's plays don't die on a stick either. Like, he's not going to get you a whole lot of points, but he's also not a complete liability in the offensive end where he can't, move the puck and get it up to the forward. So Brandon Carlo comes in at number 6. Here's the top 5. I got Thomas Chabot coming in at number 5 of the Ottawa Senators. And that might get the boys out in Ottawa a little bit riled up. But if you ever look at Thomas Chabot's numbers, outside of his offensive numbers, which have always been kind of inflated. I mean, he plays a lot of minutes all the time, but Chabot's a guy whose defensive numbers have been horrific for a very long time. He's been a minus player for a majority of his career. This season, he's worked his way out of that. The first time he's ever finished as a plus player, but his underlying numbers have not been very rosy throughout his career. 45 points, though, is pretty solid through 80 games for a defenseman. So he comes in at number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4, Morgan Rielly comes in at number 4. Look, Morgan Rielly is still a very good defenseman. He's still an extremely solid player to have on the back end, to have on your blue line. He obviously has his limitations defensively. He's not, he's just simply not Scott Stevens. He's not going to go out there, lay thunderous checks. He's not Chris Tanev, who's going to go out there and just be a defensive whiz. But he knows his role, and he can play it pretty well, jump up into the rush, provide a little bit of offense. And he's done that. 41 points this year, which is a bit of a down year considering, the last couple seasons. He had 58 points through 72 games, 41 points through 65 the year before that, 68 points in 82 games the year before that. So kind of a down season for Morgan Rielly, certainly in terms of points per game. But he was taking off the first power play, so that's going to happen. So a lot of that's just 5-on-5 production. And defensively, he's looked a lot better recently with Brandon Carlo by his side than he had with the miscellaneous cast of characters that was rotating in and off of his defensive pairing. Coming in at number 3, Dave, I've got Jake McCabe coming in at number 3. McCabe's are one of the team's best defensemen, honestly. And he is somebody who I don't think gets nearly enough credit around the league. It's someone that when you're watching this team, you understand, okay, that's what this guy's all about. He is so hard-nosed, so tough to play against. He blocks shots. He can jump up into the rush. He can skate well. He can hit you. He'll fight you. He's mean, and he's just defensively sound. And him and Tanev have turned into quite the shutdown duo, one that this Maple Leafs team hasn't had in any of these playoff series in the Matthews Marner era. And I'm excited to see what they can bring. He should be healthy and ready to go for game 1, according to Craig Berube, but he comes in as my 3rd best defenseman in the series. Coming in at number 2, Dave, Jake Sanderson comes in at number 2. Great defenseman. I think Jake Sanderson is he'll end up being the best defenseman probably of this group. I just don't think he's quite there yet. He's not somebody, he's still super young, just 22 years old. He's only in his 3rd season in the NHL, but he did put up 55 points this year, which is hella impressive through 79 games. So you can't, you obviously have to look at that and acknowledge that, and he can play some decent defensive minutes for you as well. But coming in at number 1 for me is the one, the only, the unicorn, the game tire himself, Chris Tanev. The Leafs made a big, big addition this offseason when they brought him in, and it completely transformed what this blue line was and your thought of it and what it can be. And it's turned out to be the best blue line that this team has had in years. And a big reason for it is because Chris Tanev has come in. He's stayed healthy. He's stabilized, the back end there. He's formed an unbelievable shutdown duo alongside Jake McCabe. And he's just so calm, cool, collected back there. He just kills plays. He makes the right play. I think what has always been underrated about his game is his ability to break the puck out and get the puck up to his forwards and allow them to do their thing. And Chris Tanev, to me, one of the most underrated defensemen. He has been for a very, very long time. And now that he's in Toronto, he's starting to get the accolades and people are starting to take notice. And he's 35 years old and he's still out here playing this high level of hockey. Just a no-nonsense player. And Toronto's, they were lucky to get him in the offseason. And, man, he gives them just a whole different element back there that they haven't had in a very, very long time. So Chris Tanev, to me, the best defenseman of the bunch here when you look at what's cooking on the Leafs and Sens blue line.
Yeah, pretty decent list there. I think mine's got quite a few similarities. No, especially in the top 5. So I'll quickly go through kind of my list here. So number 10, I also got Tyler Clevin. Guy's not the best, not very good, and that third pair has always been seen as a sore spot for the Senators. I've got Artem Zub at 8. He's just kind of another one of those, like he's a good, partner kind of guy for whoever's on the top pairing. So I got Artem Zub at number 8. Number 9. So our number 8, I have Nick Jensen. I thought he, been pretty solid for Ottawa since they traded for him. Yes, he's not Jacob Chychrun, but they didn't want Jacob Chychrun in terms of that type of style. They needed somebody to be more stabilizing, and that's what Nick Jensen provides. At number 7, I got Brandon Carlo. He's been solid since he's come to Toronto. Adding that size, especially on the penalty kill and in your own zone, you need someone with a bit more size. The Leafs have craved it. This was a big thing in the offseason, though. They got that. Then I got OEL at number 6 for a lot of the same reasons that you said. And then the top 5, I got Thomas Chabot, just kind of like you. Morgan Riley at number 4 for, again, a lot of the same reasons that you do. And we're going to hear a lot of the similarities here. Jake McCabe at 3, Jake Sanderson at 2, and Chris Tanev at 1. The reason why I don't have...
the exact same top 5.
It's the exact same top 5. It's for the reasons that you stated, because like Sanderson's a good defenseman, but I'm sorry, the top defenseman in the series cannot be a minus player. He was a minus player this year, even though he was really good, especially post 4 Nations. I think the 4 Nations really helped him step up his game. I still think that, there is Chris Tanev. You're throwing out anybody in the last minute of the game to bunker down and hold on to a win.
Chris Tanev was a plus 30 this year. And again, plus minus, it's not a stat that I love to look at, but you are a shutdown defenseman that plays against the top lines every game.
Yeah,
he's a plus 30. That's impressive stuff.
He doesn't get those are hard minutes, not sheltered minutes. Jake Sanderson, he plays a lot of minutes. He's not just playing offensive situations. He does get defensive assignments. But I would rather have a Chris Tanev out there in a critical situation where I need to win a game. And look, Jake Sanderson, if I need a goal from a defenseman, I'm probably choosing him.
Yeah.
But we're also looking at the other side, right? And being able to keep the puck out of their net. Chris Tanev is my guy.
And in the playoffs, that tends to be a little bit more important. There's a reason why, Riley and Chabot are a little lower on this list than guys like Tanev and McCabe. All right. So there are our top 10 defensemen lists in the upcoming Leafs Sens Battle of Ontario. Next, we'll get to our forward list. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it's unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it's next level, and thanks to Gametime, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Gametime is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets. Even for those must-see matchups, prices actually drop as the puck drop gets closer, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off. You can save 60% buying your last-minute sporting events, concerts, comedy, theater, and the all-in pricing shows the total cost up front. No surprise fees at checkout. The app will even show you panoramic seat views, so you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you on the podcast. The Battle of Ontario getting set for Sunday. Just a reminder, we're going to have a special Saturday episode of the podcast, a little bonus pod, if you will, a crossover show with the Locked On Sens boys. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow. Again, Locked On Leafs podcast, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and also up on YouTube. All right, so we went through the top 10 forwards in the Leafs Sens series. Now we're going to go through the top 10 defensemen. Now we're going to go through the top 10 forwards. And we got to kind of rapid fire this because we got that podcast with the boys coming up pretty quickly. So I'm just going to quickly give you my top 10. I'll quickly interject here on a couple of names just to speed up the process a bit here, Dave. But coming in at number 10, I've got Dylan Cousins. I think obviously since coming in over the trade, he's played pretty well for them. He scored last night as well. So I got Cousins coming in at number 10. Then I got Claude Giroux, which may be a bit of an eye raiser, but Claude Giroux, it's Claude Giroux of 2025, not Claude Giroux of 2011 or Claude Giroux of 2015. Now that guy was clearly a top talent in the NHL. He's a little bit older now, got a gray beard and a little gray and ginger going on. So he comes in at number 9 for me. Drake Batherson, I've got coming in at number 8. This guy can score, man. He can really score. And I think that he's going to be a bit of a problem. He plays kind of in-your-face style hockey as well, a bit of an irritator. So I got Drake Batherson coming in at number 8. Matthew Knies comes in at number 7 for me. Matthew Knies of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he has an opportunity to be an X factor in this series too, which we'll probably get into on tomorrow's show with the boys, who can be those X factors. If Matthew Knies can be that, just a big body in front of the net. He scores in and around the net, which is exactly where those greasy garbage playoff goals come from. I think he's going to be a big-time impact player. Matthew Knies comes in at number 7 for me. I've got Brady Tkachuk coming in at number 6. And funny enough, Nye says he kind of, models his game around Tkachuk a little bit, the captain of the Ottawa Senators. He played last night. He's back. He's ready to go. He's a physical specimen. And we saw how well he can rise to the occasion in the Four Nations face-off when games are very meaningful. So I'll be excited to see what this guy looks like come playoff time. He comes in at number 6. John Tavares comes in at number 5 for me. Coming off one of his best seasons, we've seen Tavares in a very long time. 38 goals, most since his first year here in Toronto when he put up 48. So Tavares comes in at number 5. Timmy Stützle comes in at number 4. This guy's a really solid playmaker. Like, he is just a good hockey player. And I don't think he gets enough credit for kind of his two-way ability as well. He's just turned into a stud player, 75, 80 points a season. He could put up 25 to 30 goals. I think Tim Stützle, a.k.a. they're calling him Timmy Superstar over there in Ottawa, good player, comes in at number 4. And then my top 3 is going to be rounded out with Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, and then William Nylander in that order. Matthews the best, Marner at 2, and Nylander comes in at number 3. Some people say you can interchange Marner and Nylander, but I will always die on the hill that Marner is the better overall player than Bill Nye, the wrist shot guy. I know Willie had 45 goals, and he may have been Toronto's MVP this season. You can make the case. You can make that argument. But I'll take Marner's two-way play all day long and have him ahead of Nylander. So Matthews, Marner, Nylander rounds out my top 3.
It's a pretty solid list there. I'll quickly go through mine. So at number 10, I also have Dylan Cousins. I think great addition for them to get him at the trade deadline. I got Drake Batherson at 9. Really good forward. Has always found ways to have some good success against Leafs. Number 8, Shane Pinto, got him a little high. I think he's going to be a guy they're going to throw out a lot against Matthews if as much as possible in this series. He's got kind of that Bergeron-ish effect on Matthews when he is out there. Number 7, I do have Matthew Nyes for this kind of the same reasons you do. I think I'm expecting a big playoffs from Matty Nyes here. I've got John Tavares at 6 here. Great season from him. We'll see if that can carry over to the postseason. They're really going to need that. I got Tim Stützle at 5. Being, as you said, great talent. They probably like to see him shoot a bit more. I've heard a lot about that from him in Ottawa this year, but he's still a guy that could put up some great points, and he's always played really well against Toronto. Number 4, Brady Tkachuk. Obviously, same reasons as you. I think he's gonna be the guy that's gonna be the focus on every game for Ottawa in this series. And I think if you're the Leafs, this is a guy you're gonna wanna try to neutralize, not let him have an impact on the game. And then I got same top 3 as you, but I went with the opposite way of Marner, Nylander, and Matthews. I think come playoff time, that's where Nylander shines. And I think that's why I have him just ahead of Marner. But I think Marner, incredible year for him. That's why I have him at 3. And then Matthews, I think Auston Matthews, he's played so well down the stretch here that I'm expecting a big round 1 from the captain.
Gotta get it from these guys. There's nobody who has more pressure around the league to succeed in this round 1 than the 2 of Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner. So we'll see. It all starts on Sunday. Puck drop 7:00 in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. I can't wait. Just a reminder, we will have a bonus podcast tomorrow. We're doing a crossover episode with the Locked On Senators boys to preview game 1 between the Leafs and Senators. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.